Do you have a system for improving the performance of your sales team? And by system, I mean something that doesn't rely on the specific sales leader, the sales manager, and something that over time gets better, improves. When you do work on it, it's a more performant system. Let's do a thought experiment. Just think about your very best salesperson and the revenue that they would bring in a period, say in a year. Let's call it R. Here you go. Here's the revenue of your best salesperson. Now imagine if all of your salespeople performed as well as your best salesperson. How many salespeople do you have? Well, your team potential is the number of salespeople times the performance of your best salesperson, and your team result would look something like this. Well, of course, actually your team result looks something like this. I've managed a lot of sales teams across a lot of different industries, and they look something like that. And now I work with a lot of sales teams with different companies, and their performance looks something like that when I come in. A couple here that maybe you're in the process of getting out of a sales role, or they're new hires, and then a big group in the middle here that kind of perform okay, and then your best salespeople. You can think of this red area here as lost revenue potential, lost through either skill gap or experience gap. Now, over time, you hope they get better with some training, except of course you lose some, and then you're kind of back to the beginning, and they forget their training over time. So actually, year in, year out, your sales performance looks something like this, unless you have a system. Now, there's really only 4 levers that you have for improvement: better hiring, better onboarding, better skills development, and better retention. Briefly on hiring, seems obvious: hire better salespeople, my results should be better. Well, it's not just about the hiring. If you measure the skill level well, that's one thing, but you also need to observe the habits. And faster observation of poor habits is part of the hiring process. But mainly I want to focus on the second and third elements: better onboarding and better skill development. Better onboarding has potential across the board to improve sales results. It gets your team up, operating faster, but also gets the right skills that they need to be performing better year in, year out. And better skills development is about taking that information that your best salespeople have, all of the stories and ways of talking with their customers, the insights that they have about their competitors and about how your customers operate, and getting that in across the board, and even improving the skill of your best salespeople. Taken together, the onboarding and the skills development over time forms a very important part of what we call a persuasion library. And the persuasion library is the system that can enable better onboarding and faster, better skills development for teams, for sales teams. So we use the metaphor of a library, and it contains stories, the experience of your best salespeople, not only the experience of your best technical people and people around your company throughout the world, codified in a way that salespeople can use it in sales success stories, it's an oral history, in testimonials, in scripts, all those other elements of your persuasion library. We want to be able to collect them, store them, but most importantly, transplant them into the mind of your salespeople. Not just your best salespeople, but all of your salespeople. And the installation concept is create a piece of persuasion, a story, a script, testimonial, install it in the mind of your salespeople, store it in the library so that it can be reused and it can be used by new salespeople. Looks simple, but there's a whole process around this, a teaching process, a coaching process, and a capture and storage process all together forms part of the system for your sales persuasion library. If you're interested in this, we'd love to speak with you about it. If you'd like to see a partial example of a persuasion library, go to our Growth in Focus website and have a look at our story library, and there you'll start to get a feel for what can be achieved. Please do contact. I'm Mike Adams, Director at Growth in Focus. Thanks very much for listening. Thank you.